That's the minimum level that Amazon needs for their system to work optimally.
Optimally, from their opinion.
We're going to penalize sellers who aren't managing the inventory well. We're going to leave sellers who are managing the inventory well alone. If you manage to stay in stock, then you don't have to pay this additional fee.
So for you small guys, join me in the rebellion. Hey squad, quick side note. We know that more than 80% of you are not subscribed. The more people who subscribe, the more content we can create for you. And the happier we'll be here. Hey team, welcome to Upside, and you should be outraged. You should take the streets. Why, Zamir? Why?
I feel that you're aiming this outrage at me.
Well, okay. Once again, Amazon has our voluptuous... Maybe wrong word. Amazon has us again. And they are doing the squeeze. All right. Yes, that was a very kind of clickbaity intro, but it very much is the truth. Because when you're an Amazon seller, or just selling on any marketplace, right? A really big part of the whole thing is the margins. You're not doing this for fun as a charity. It might be some fun, but this is not a charity. You're trying to make some money out of it. And more, the marketplaces, because they're becoming so dominant, are putting in more and more fees. And there's fees coming in all over the show, and it's just eroding that margin down such that it is expensive, well, more expensive and more competitive and harder to actually compete and make it work commercially. Which brings us to today's point of discussion / contention. Zamir,
Ali,
tell us about the fees that have come through, and just let's give some context to it. Let's unpack that, and I'll continue my rant.
you're talking about the premium that Amazon's adding to its FBA fees if your stock...
Did you catch that?
If your stock...
The premium. It's not a premium, it's a fee.
Yeah.
This sounds like a soundbite from Trump's media team. Okay, so let's do this again.
The fee that's going... The additional fee...
The additional fee.
That Amazon is charging to anyone whose stock drops below 30 days on FBA.
Right. So if you have stock in an Amazon warehouse and you're, based on the rate of sale, your stock levels go below 30 days worth of stock, Amazon's going to give you, very kindly, a fee because they love you.
No, because you deserve it.
All right. Tell me.
This is good. This is a good fee.
Oh, I love this. Okay. Yeah. Tell me. It's a good fee.
Yeah. Well, up until now.
Yeah.
I think, look, first, the reason why Amazon's doing this, okay, they need 30 days worth of stock in order for their FBA system to work optimally, right? If you think about it, your stock's probably spread across around about 10 plus fulfillment centers. If you take stock and spread it across 10 fulfillment centers, you take 30 days worth of stock, that means you've got roughly about 3 days worth of stock coverage in each of those fulfillment centers, maximum. And that's the minimum level that Amazon needs for their system to work optimally.
Optimally from their opinion, right? Optimally is because what it means is, so if I'm going to continue your line of logic, it's essentially customers who get next day delivery spend more. When they spend more, we make more money.
Yeah.
If they're not spending more money and we're not making more money, we're going to take that money from our sellers to make up the difference.
We're going to charge sellers who are not managing their inventory optimally the extra fee required to deliver the same level of service to them.
So that we can make the same, if not more money.
Ultimately, up until now, as a seller, if we're managing our stock well, i.e. we're making sure our stock doesn't drop below the 30 days, then what's been happening is for us to get those FBA fees, and we know that Amazon's been increasing the FBA fees. So what Amazon said is, look, actually, we need to increase the FBA fees to make this system work for us, but rather than charging all sellers equally, what we're going to do is we're going to penalize sellers who aren't managing the inventory well, and we're going to leave sellers who are managing the inventory well alone. They don't have to subsidize sellers who are managing their inventory poorly.
So, okay, so one of my points of contention is that logic, which is FBA fees should cover FBA, right? As in fulfilled by Amazon, as in pick, pack, and post the product.
Absolutely.
Right? It should cover that. Which they already kind of do a little bit unfairly, because if you buy, we all know, if you buy two different products, if someone buys two different products from your same catalog, but sends in the same parcel, you still get charged two different fees. My whole thing is, they're basically saying, unless you operate in a way that allows us to make maximum money, we're going to tax you that difference.
They're going to charge a premium, an additional fee, however you want,
a premium,
a tax, however you want to portray that fee. They're going to focus that fee, right, and target on people who are not managing, in essence, causing greater costs to them, and leave alone the people who are managing it well.
But it doesn't factor in reasons why people go below less than 30 days, right?
It doesn't take reason into account. It simply takes into account that you're costing more to the system. And so
it's a tank on a walnut, on our walnuts, which are currently getting squeezed.
I don't see that analogy. Explain it to me.
So Amazon's got their tank on our walnuts. Forgive me for hammering that point, because I want to hammer those walnuts.
Waiting for the point.
Because your stock, you may go out of stock for lots of reasons. One, your supplier may mess up.
Mm-hmm.
Your shipping may mess up.
Yeah.
So many reasons go into why people go below 30 days of stock.
Yeah.
You may run out of cash for whatever reason, because business run out of cash. That happens. It's a real thing, right?
Yep.
So it doesn't factor in that logic. And so what it really does is, one, penalize people unfairly for reasons that might not be in their control. That's the first penalization. The second part of that is it creates like a gulf, a big gap between sophisticated, really well-designed businesses and the people who are trying to grow to that. This is kind of like that whole like rich-poor gap increase, and it's becoming harder to break through that glass ceiling.
Okay, you made a few points there, so let's take that final one. You're right, okay? So those...
Are you taking my phrase? Are you unpacking? Are you doing an unpack?
I'm not unpacking. I'm just taking each of your points one by one. Those that have invested money into creating the systems that allow them to remain in stock, they get a return on that investment. So what you're right, it's created a barrier to entry for maybe smaller sellers or those that haven't invested.
So for you small guys, join me in the rebellion.
But here's the point, right? If you're a small seller, if you're not quite there, this is the ultimate reason to invest into a system that allows you to get there. Because once you're there, there is a barrier to entry. And we all know that when we're creating our businesses, we're investing in it. And what we don't want is people to be able to easily come in and take that away from us or get into that market from us. So this is...
Does it sound like the words of...
This is a barrier to... You make your points. Let me finish my points, right? So Amazon are creating a barrier to
We
entry.
don't want poor people to come and enter our
It's not about
golf
poor
clubs.
people. It's about people who've invested that margin already. They've taken that and they've decided to invest ahead of time to create a system that's more in line with what Amazon needs so that they can reward that to them. Now, second point that you are
Not
making,
reward. No, if it was a reward, I'd get a payment. It's not a reward.
Right, so there's a barrier to entry. And so because once you've grown and built a business, you want protection. So Amazon's giving you that protection by saying, look, if you invest in the systems, if you manage to stay in stock, then you don't have to pay this additional fee. Now, coming back to
watch this. I'm about to do a lawyer move. Watch this.
Oh, go. Come on then.
So you're basically going to be stopping people from moving in. And who are you stopping? All the small guys. It's only going to stop smaller people from moving in, not big guys. Because the big guys, the big manufacturers in the Far East and everywhere else, already have the cash. And they already have those supply chains already structured together. So all it does is all these smaller guys who are trying to break through and get to that glass ceiling are shut out.
No, I think what you're doing is you're giving them a really good reason to invest in systems that will not simply help them with their Amazon fees, but will help them with their business long term anyway. And that you're saying to them is if you invest and create a really professional, slick system,
then I won't squeeze your balls.
A level of protection for you. And that is what any business wants to know is like, look, what you don't want is people who are just playing at it to be able to come in and compete on a level playing field with you. What you want is a degree of protection.
We don't want people coming in and just playing with our walnuts. Okay, fine. I don't buy that argument. Because all it really does, it just creates...
It's fair that fees go up for everyone equally, regardless of whether they're optimal or not on their stock.
I disagree with the whole concept of it, because the whole concept of it is essentially this. The concept is, I want to make as much money as I can, and if I can't, I'm going to take it from. If I can't take it from customers, I'm going to take it from my suppliers. That's what they're saying.
Amazon and pretty much every single major retailer does.
Well, that's my point. That's my point.
But
Isn't that my point? My point is the big guys.
The difference between other retailers and Amazon is pretty much anyone can come and play on that platform, right? Anyone can come and put their products there. And people who are not abiding by the rules.
Not anyone. That's my point, right? So this is the whole point. Not everybody can. Because all of the people who are learning, you and I both started by learning.
Yes, we did.
Right? If these rules came in when we started out, we would have been shut out. You started iQualTech on a credit card.
Yeah, I did.
Could you get 30 days rate of sale of stock on a credit card?
No.
Shut out.
But here's another point. Whenever I started that, I had much lower overheads, right, than the big guys, right?
Because you did.
No,
but it was a simpler system, right? And that here's my point. That makes it more complex and harder for people to break in.
Here's the thing, right? By having more stock available, right, and by investing in that and by being pushed into that, because that was what I did. I created a company. You're right. I ran out of stock initially off the back of the credit card. But then what I did is I built up a bank of cash, because that's the margin you're talking about. And rather than pulling it out of the business immediately, I reinvested that into more stock and more stock. That's how I grew the business, right? And Amazon's simply encouraging that.
If you can get through the glass ceiling.
The ceiling is not a glass ceiling. It's a ceiling that exists in business all around anyway, right? You reinvest in the business, you grow it to a point where it becomes more sustainable. And that's all they're doing, is they're contributing to that, where that level is at. That's always existed.
Are there any other points in favor of this other than what's in favor of Amazon?
As I said, I think this is in favor of sellers as well. And I think that's the point that should be taken here, is that rather than putting additional fees, which Amazon has done up until now, I'll just point that out, right? It's done that up until now. It's just unilaterally put an extra fee on all sellers. And what they've done here is actually, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to put an additional fee on those that are
smaller sellers.
Optimally. There are plenty of big brands that we know, right? Big brands selling other markets that don't stock properly.
Yeah, but that's just because
this idea that it's small versus big isn't true.
#size matters.
So what we're talking about here is just people that don't understand or aren't taking that stock availability or that inventory planning seriously.
Fine. I feel like we have debated this point to its maximum length. And as I like to say, please join us in this discussion in the comments, guys. We can together have a mass debate together. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to encourage you to come to the light, Zamir. Yeah. And I'll ask Jeff to take his hands out of my pockets.
Is that your closing argument?
You can't handle the truth. #Jack Nilsson. Cool, guys. Stay awesome. Take the streets with me. Together we are strong.
One love.
One love.